Hello and welcome everybody to GitGud EU Console Edition. We're in the middle of week 4, round 4. For your casting entertainment, I'm going to be Sir Waltham, joined by Shy Guy. We're going to be casting the games of Inferno versus Oblivion. Shy Guy, how are you feeling about some console games today?
I'm incredibly excited for this. This is like a return to my roots, I guess. I began, I guess, as probably a lot of players do, playing Overwatch on console way back in the day, going all the way back to season 1 of competitive play. Of course, I eventually made my way over to PC, where my aim is like a potato. So that's the story of how I became a Reinhardt main. But I'm excited to get back into console and see kind of what the meta looks like right now, because I know that things tend to be very different between the two worlds. So really, this is going to be a learning experience for me, and I'm just pumped to dive right in.
Yeah, gonna absolutely be excited for that. For those of you who are a little bit more recurring of a viewer, we do have Oblivion, who did win over Kaibade last week. So they're going to be coming into this match, hopefully on a little bit of a high streak.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrying some momentum into the season. Right now in the rest of Get Good, we're kind of moving into the late stages of the season, getting ready for playoffs this weekend to start in a lot of the leagues. But we're still in the thick of things in console right now. I mean, there's still a lot to play for both of these teams, so I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table here today.
Yes, and of course, it looks like we are going to be starting on what I always imagined to be the assumed favorite ever control map of Overwatch. It's going to be Zhong Towers. We're talking Gardens, Control Center, and we're talking Night Market, Shaga.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is like the control map when it comes to Overwatch. I mean, I think if you've got like iconic maps in this game, I think it's King's Row at the top for sure. Like every single team always plays King's Row, it seems like, but Lijiang has to be right there. I mean, so many kind of series will kind of end on a map like this when you tend to go to 5 maps. You always wind up on the control points for the final decider, and that makes for a lot of iconic moments on a map like this.
Yeah, I hope we're going to be finding a lot of iconic moments as we move forward with this game. I'm always going to root for the Pharah on Gardens. I have to mention it every single time we go to Lijiang, which is almost every cast. So I feel like a broken record sometimes. But Pharah or Echo, that high flying capability, you love seeing it. I always like
Yeah,
verticality added to my fights.
yeah. I mean, especially here on console. I mean, I think Pharah has always kind of reigned supreme in terms of the DPS picks, or at least been more viable than she would have been on PC. And she recently, not too long ago, got some nice little buffs to her splash damage, which makes her an even bigger threat right now. So I would not be surprised at all if we see these teams break it out here.
Certainly not, as we do take a little bit of a header into what these team rosters are going to be looking like for Inferno. It's going to be Azo and X Libby on the DPS, Binksy and DZ on tank line, one big bot, and Nigel, as I'll be referring to them, on that support line. Conversely, for Oblivion, Reddit, Ross, and Lynxy. PS, Eden, Solace, and Mellow Bellow for the tanks. Feud, Zenyatta, and Naga for the support line. For now, Oblivion does like
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see if we get any of those swaps kind of throughout the series. But this is what we got for right now. Oblivion pretty much all flashing the top 500 player icons in lobby right now. We got the Dallas Fuel icons on the other side. Naga, the one trader for Oblivion, just switching sides in that regard right now. But I don't think he'll be too friendly with Inferno once the game gets going.
I think this is a little bit of signaling from Inferno. I think they're looking to flame Oblivion right about now. They're going to be looking to torch him up, get him a little heated, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is quite a bit kind of on the line for these two teams. We are really right in the middle of the season. Both these teams fighting to try and get to playoffs at the end of the year. So We really should expect everyone to be on their A game here today. And we look like we're just about ready to get into the action.
Yes, we are going to be going on to Lijiang. So we will be seeing the first map here in just a second. Very excited to see it. You always got to have that little bit of tension, but the tension begins to be broken as we will be going over to that night market map to start.
Yeah, exactly. So, I kind of expect potentially to see some kind of cheeky Symmetra strats to start us off on this map. We've been seeing that a whole lot recently. You can use the TP just for the rollout from the ship, or you can go for something a bit more aggressive, try to TP up to that top window of the point, get the early positioning advantage, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be unpredictable for those Symmetras to try to come out. Effectiveness might remain to be seen, but as we do get heading into it here, at the start, doesn't look like any.
No, for right now, the DPS are flashing quite a bit of variety here. I mean, we got Azo going over to the Pharah for right now, at least. Nigel going to be pocketing there with the Mercy pick, so we'll see what he can get done. But Lynxy on the other side, gonna have a lot on his shoulders. Playing that Ashe needs to be the deterrent for that Pharah.
We'll have to see if they can find it as these gates do open up. Going to be rolling onto point, and well, it looks like the side of, I believe it's going to be Inferno, rolling a little bit more directly into point. Not a lot of damage coming through quite yet. I say that as Melobello takes a huge chunk of damage. That Orisa, to be a little bit careful, doesn't want to lead with the jaw too much here. The poke damage is coming in from Azo. This team really going to be looking to gatekeep and get those early picks if possible. That Genji's so low, but does get healed up. First possession does go over to Inferno, but Binksy is going to be dropping. Nigel does have their back, brings them right back up into the fight. And with this, things are looking a little bit more even. A nice deflect coming out from Reddit Ross ensures that it's going to be Oblivion now, looking a little bit stronger. And with the nano boost going out, may not have been necessary, but it's going to help them sure up this point.
Absolutely. They do such a great job throughout that fight of just kind of slowly constricting in on to Inferno. After the early cap comes through, they get the quick flip, and that's a good start here for Oblivion.
Yeah, it really is. Both Sigmas playing kind of forward with each other, trying to accrete each other out of their kinetic grasp. Neither one really finding it just yet. Now it's going to be Azo trying to find that damage overhead with the Pharah once again, just looking for that damage. Can they find it despite Lynxy on this Ashe? The concussion blast trying to come in doesn't quite deal with the Brig as they might like. Bob gets sent into the back line, forcing out that immortality field from one big bot. ZX Libby going to be taken down 3 with the high noon. That is a great turnaround for this team. Inferno needed the shot in the arm.
I mean, that's a rare sight nowadays to get a Deadeye like that and pretty much completely unassisted. It wasn't like everybody got pulled out of from line of sight into by a halter or anything like that. That's just Libby walking forward and finding the right angle there.
Yeah, the Rocket Barrage going to be coming in again, trying to find more value for that ult. Inferno only going to be finding a 1 this time around, but 1 is all they're going to need. The Gravitic Flux coming in from Eden Solace, not going to be enough to really help them. Eden Solace, in fact, going to be taking a jump off the map as they realize their efforts are...
I mean, so far, Oblivion has kind of tried to more or less ignore the Pharah, but when Barrage is available, that is just not going to be the play, and they eventually get punished for it now. Find themselves on the back foot. Inferno taking up over 70%. This could potentially be the final fight here for Oblivion if they don't make it happen quick.
Oblivion looking like they're not exactly being rapid to get onto point either, and that amplification window going to be coming in from one big bot. Going to be looking to really pry that damage in, but doesn't quite find it. Azo going to be taken down by Lynxy, the Ashe doing their job. And now the Supercharger coming out. A lot of ults being committed from Oblivion, but they're going to utilize them to get the point.
And I mean, I actually like the patience there from Oblivion. Yes, they could have tried to charge in and maybe get 2 fights, but no, they wait out that Amp Matrix. They eventually get the pick there onto Azo and are just able to clean that one up, but they had to commit quite a bit to do it. They needed to win that fight, and now they are completely dry on ultimates.
Will be a little bit tougher of a task for Oblivion. They're going to have to deal with a High Noon, which we saw get value before, and the Supercharger. Big C probably going to feel pretty comfortable pushing into it. The High Noon coming out in front of, or on top of the Immortality field, coming in from one big bot. Gravitic Flux now as well. A lot of ultimates coming out, all to ensure the fight win for Inferno. And they're looking good for it so far. As soon as Reddit Ross falls, it's going to be theirs.
Yeah, that was just overwhelming firepower coming in there from Inferno. Naga gonna stagger a little bit, trigger the overtime, but no one else going to be able to make it back to the point. The ball shut down there as Inferno go up 1-0.
The ball was about to make it on the point. Binksy just able to gently pull him back like a yo-yo, so I'm not really going to be missing that ball too much, especially if you're on the side of Inferno, who now takes the 1-0 as we go into this control center.
Yeah, I mean, now things change pretty dramatically in terms of what I would expect these teams to be playing. I'll be surprised if Azo sticks with the Pharah here on Control Center. Much harder to get value with, you know, that aerial hero when we're in these close quarters. So yeah, it's going to be the Mei here. That pick, very standard on Control Center.
Yeah, that wall having so much power to just cause you know, a disruption among the enemy lines. We'll have to see if Azo's able to utilize it to some proper advantage. Reddit Ross going to be staying on the Genji here, perhaps not the most common. Man,
that's going to be interesting. I want to see what he can make of this. He's got to, you know, find a way to combo with these halts to really find value.
A big Maywall coming out from Azo, going to separate Mellow Bellow. Reddit Ross also taking some licks of their own. But with this, it looks like Inferno now going to get a little heady, get really pushed up forward as they get the point cap.
I mean, that's just textbook right there from Inferno. They take that first fight pretty much entirely off of Azo's Maywall, and now they get to control this choke point. Like, this could not have gone better.
Seeing the double hit scan coming out from Oblivion, Reddit Ross going on to that McCree. And right now, it's going to be on the side of Oblivion to really have to be cautious and careful of that Mei wall. Azo does have it up, able to section them off at any time. Just like that, it's going to be almost even. Solace getting caught out, the team able to break down the wall. I didn't come in up from ZX Libby just by a little bit more time. A zoning goal.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of negates the Amp Matrix out from Big Bot, but still, Inferno getting some kills now as they drop that Matrix and immediately delete Mellobello.
Yeah, now it's gonna be Oblivion stepping back just a little bit. They have to retreat behind that choke once again, which means that's ground they've just lost that they put so much work into getting.
Indeed, and now they're gonna have to push into a blizzard. Like, how do you even make this work? The Gravitic Flux out early, but not gonna find any kills.
Does force out the Immortality field. We'll see if that's crucial enough. Mellow Bellow not able to capitalize, not getting caught in that grab flux. And now damage absolutely coming through. Libby gonna be tearing on this McCree. The Mei wall ensuring nobody can get back into spawn. Eden's taking a late death.
And things starting to look dire here for Oblivion on Lijiang Tower. They're gonna be pushing into the Blizzard and the Sound Bear from Inferno. So I really don't see a way that they win this fight. Eden Solace needs to come up big with this Gravitic Flux, or maybe they can find a pick with the Amp Matrix.
Certainly gonna have to try here, however. It does look like Inferno's gonna give them some space. And Oblivion's gonna take it, but the wall comes out. The tank's almost getting separated. Libby taking it down at the opponents. The High Noon actually still finding value. It seems like Libby has been getting some incredible benefit from it. Forcing out this Baptiste rotation, taking the 1v1, but Naga's going to come out victorious, able to keep their team largely up, but does get focused down, and it was looking so close for Oblivion. They weren't quite able to find it, and because of that, this is all going to be going over to Inferno.
Naga tries to put on the carry pants there, drops the Amp Matrix, able to win the duel out against the McCree, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough for Oblivion and Inferno. Coming up big here on Lijiang. I mean, Night Market was close, but Control Center, that was all Inferno all the way.
Yeah, it was looking very good. I think Inferno definitely looking like one of the more formidable teams that I've seen on the console scene so far. And I look forward to seeing them, move forward as we go through this console.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue seeing more of this team as we continue moving forward. I mean, we've already seen some nice versatility coming out from them so far, especially on the side of Azo, picking up the Pharah and the Mei there on Lijiang Tower, playing both of them beautifully. But I've been very impressed with their team play more than anything. I mean, they're setting up their DPS really, really beautifully. Libby popping off on that McCree throughout that map, and they're off to a hot start.
It's really a credit to the team when just by comparison the opposing team looks so confused. It seems like Oblivion didn't really know how to handle the Pharah, didn't know how to handle the Mei, so it looked like Inferno was kind of outclassing them in that aspect.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest. I mean, we saw Reddit Russ trying to play that Genji throughout Lijiang Tower. I mean, he stuck with it for the most part on Night Market, and then tried to roll out with it even there on Control Center, which to me is a tough ask. I mean, here on console, it is difficult to get a lot of value out of the Genji because as opposed to on PC where you can make those quick flicks where you can dash in, immediately turn and find the right angle for the shots. You have some time that you have to kind of scan over with your aim to get on to someone with that Genji. Makes those quick movements and getting peak value out of that hero much more difficult. And Reddit Ross struggled to find opportunities there on map number 1. That's not to say it cannot work in the future. Control points always play differently than other types of maps here in Overwatch. So there's definitely opportunities for him to kind of turn that one around. But there on Lijiang, it left a little to be desired.
Yeah, I mean, however, to their credit, if we're looking at positives here, Oblivion, when they got onto the command center, Reddit Ross, I believe, had one fight with the Genji. Then they just saw that they weren't going to win it.
Right.
That they saw that Mei come out, they swapped off. So I really do have to give them that credit there. The Ashe McCree may have been a little bit too hit scan based for what command center required, but it's not like they're not trying.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. Like you've got to come in kind of with a game plan, and obviously the Genji was their game plan at the start, but being willing to adjust that as the series continues is obviously important. So we'll just have to see. Now we're gonna get Oblivion's map though, which just means that they get to kind of dictate the pace or at least dictate where we're going and how this next map is going to play out. Maybe they can take us somewhere that favors their style a little bit more. And it seems that Junkertown is going to be their decision.
Well, that's not too surprising from what we see. Oblivion, we're showing that they have that double hit scan capability. So,
Sure.
there's a lot of opportunity for perhaps something like the double sniper coming out of Junkertown as a strategy that is certainly not the least viable in Junkertown. So it could work for Oblivion. It might also just be a company.
For sure. I mean, that is definitely one of the most sniper friendly maps here in Overwatch to begin with, and they've already shown kind of a predilection for not exactly double sniper, but they've shown us that both their DPS are willing to go over to those hit scan threats. So that's definitely a possibility here as we get ready for map number 2. I do wonder if they might have something else up their sleeves, potentially the bastion for the attack. It's not something I've seen in quite a while on Junkertown, that kind of pirate ship strategy, but it's always an option kind of that you can have in your back pocket.
It's an option that you can have, but it's not the exactly most respected of all of the strategies. However,
It reeks of desperation a little bit.
It does. We are going to be having the teams switch sides, it seems. So Oblivion will be in the blue, Inferno in the red, which makes a little bit more sense. I like the name Inferno just being in red, or it evokes fire.
Yes.
Thematic.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the coordination that we've got going on there. Let's try and keep it that way for the rest of the series teams. I would really appreciate that. But Yeah, I was really happy with what we saw out of Oblivion through that entire first map. I mean, they were really good about rarely kind of overcommitting ultimates to fights. I thought they had a really good rotation going on in terms of just cycling those ults across fights to kind of keep that momentum going. And the individual performances I thought were really fantastic for them. Now it's time to see if Inferno can kind of keep that up.
Yeah, and I mean, so far Inferno has that momentum with them, but Oblivion might have a little bit more of the overarching momentum, as I mentioned a little bit earlier at the very start of the cast. They did come off the win with high bait, so they're gonna have that mentality that we can win, we are winners. I just don't know if that's going to translate, given that they've already lost a map in that Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, now is their opportunity to turn things around here on Junkertown. And, we'll see what they're going to roll out with on the defense in just a moment. I mean, I totally expect to see at least one sniper in the comp. I think it's like pretty much required here on Junkertown. It depends if you count Ash as a sniper. They kind of have one there, but going with the Mei for the secondary DPS.
I have bad memories of seeing the Mei come out on Junkertown and teams just hole up in that frontmost room to the left of Cart coming in the defender side. But it looks like a rather forward hold from Oblivion.
Yeah, they're going not with what you were talking about there, where you can hold up in that other building and just kind of stall the payload indefinitely for a long time. They're going for kind of a sneak attack here. They've got the Lucio. They've got everybody in this position just waiting for Inferno to come out.
Inferno's going to come out, gets caught by the wall, and the big swings coming in. Eden Sol is getting brought dangerously low, will be healed up though, and fortunately for the defending side, Oblivion able to get a kill from Lynxie onto Libby. So this forward hold does actually get some value. Cart does move a bit, but so far this engagement's not getting too hot and heavy.
No, I mean, Inferno, they just back off a little bit. They get caught off guard at the beginning, but now they've got Libby up on the high ground, going to be pretty deadly if they can find the right angles. Azo off on this off angle is in a really great position.
See if they can find it. Already built up quite a bit of the way to Bob. They can just send him into the backlines, but they might not need to with that Reinhardt dropping early. Although things looking a little bit back and forth as the numbers do get equalized. As I mentioned, Azo going to be sending that Bob not into the backlines, just right in front of Cart. Going to be doing a lot of that damage on the cleanup, but Reddit Ross on this Mei doing a great job of stall. Not going to be enough though as the Cart finally gets moving.
So, I mean, ultimately, that forward hold, it's worth a minute on the clock, which, if you're Oblivion, I don't think it's a bad thing, considering the fact that a lot of times on Junkertown, people only really get, like, one good fight. You made sure that you're going to get at least two here. You'll have plenty of time to regroup and recontest in a solid position, and, now you just really need to worry about Libby. Can't get picked off by the Widow.
We're going to see Bob come out once again. It looks like he just flies off into the backline, right off a cliff. Lynxie not going to be helping out there, Bob, but it doesn't really matter. They're still able to find that value even without DZ going to be trying to hold their own with that Sigma. Not going to happen.
And Inferno getting punished there a little bit for not having the Lucio in their lineup. They're most of the team is sitting on the cart, and they have no way to disengage at that point. When the Mei and the rest of the team just come charging straight into you with speed boost, no chance to run away.
Yeah, and as we see Libby in the way back, trying to just find those early picks. Can they get them? It doesn't look like they're landing their shots too reliably just yet. Blizzard does come out, and with that, it's going to be Oblivion taking forward the early and later kills.
They commit Soundbarrier and Blizzard to make that fight happen, and that might be a little bit of an overcommitment in this case, as they were able to win the fight though. But now we're down to a minute remaining on the clock, so Oblivion already doing an excellent job on this Junkertown defense. We're seeing why they picked this map in the first place. They were confident in their ability to hold.
Yeah, Inferno still opting for these two snipers around to get the cart around this corner. They're both Baptiste's going to be dropping the amplification matrix. Neither one really finding too much off the start of it, but it looks like the threat really came through onto Oblivion. They're really maneuvering themselves to not be put in a vulnerable position. Bob just going to be diving in, landing right in front of the supercharger, taking it out as a matter of fact. Immortality field forced out because of that, Bob. And with this, Inferno now has a little bit more of an opening. If they can just find the kill perhaps onto this Ashe, or even take down the Reinhardt, might be a very crucial pick. But the cart does get progress, as it looks like Oblivion just taking the opportunity to regroup themselves. Yeah,
they've holed up in this mega health pack room, but that's going to be the death of them. Azo and Libby chiming in for a couple of kills there to finish off that A attack.
And the first point cap is going to be crucial here as they get moving forward. Azo looking to press their advantage just a little bit, might want to not get too cocky.
Yeah, but no real threat here. On the other side, he can just poke forward, get a little bit more ult charge, start building up to that next Bob, and now going to try and take control of the high ground alongside ZX Libby.
Yeah, Libby going to be looking to find these early kills. Once again, the Earth Shatter coming in lands on to Oblivion. Not quite able to recover off the back end of that Shatter. Eden Solace does take down one, but the offense seeming a little heavy right now, but it's just that lone Orisa on the cart. The Ashe is there to pry that damage in, but as far as cart presence, that puts your Orisa very vulnerable. Not going to matter, though.
No, I mean, somehow Binksy able to stay alive through that, even as Oblivion commit everybody onto the cart. They still can't kill off the main tank there. But even if they had, they were losing that fight anyway. The rest of Inferno just scattered around the point, so that all-in doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Little bit curious here. However, a final contest coming in. The Blizzard from Reddit Ross needs to find this value. The Sigma getting frozen out of that Grav Flux. DZ not going to have it on the line. They might be regretting that. And it looks like the defense now finally striking back a little bit strong in this Streets phase. The res does come onto Azo, but that's just going to be a little bit more ult charge fed over to the opposing DPS and tanks. Even the Lucio trying to get in a few punches.
And the good news for Oblivion there is that they commit a lot of ultimates that fight, but they're able to get several out of Inferno as well. You mentioned the Grav Flux that gets kind of wasted there, the Amp Matrix, the Valkyrie as well. So we're coming into this next fight on relatively even terms.
Now, as we look forward, perhaps the biggest ultimate going to be standing in the way is Eden's Earth Shatter. If they can find it and get some big value with it, that might halt this offensive push in its tracks. We can see that Reinhardt pushing up onto the high ground, however, leaves the cart a little exposed. Not going to matter, though. Eden Solace taking down two. A good opening. The Earthshatter tries to come out, but gets blocked by DZ. So that Reinhardt not able to find the purchase they were so brutally needing in the moment.
Ooh, and a bold res coming in from Feuds and Jada gets shut down. The Widow finally popping off here on phase number 2 as Inferno keep the cart moving.
That is so crippling if you're on the side of Oblivion. You had the first few kills, you had the Ashe, I believe, you had the Mercy, and you still lose it. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, they had a good idea of just trying to take the high ground really quickly there, but eventually they just get worn down in the longer fight. The Widow finally starts hitting those headshots, and when that's happening, there's not a whole lot of counterplay. And now Libby getting a little bit bold, going for this flank.
See if they can find anything. Any of those kills will be crucial into really opening up this fight. Azo looking to take on their Ashe counterpart as well. Doesn't seem to quite be able to find it right out of the gate. It's going to be, in fact, Libby who takes that first death. But now on this high ground, these Ashes really dueling for that superiority. Neither one of them is going to end up holding, and both getting brought back up by their respective Mercy on that fidget spinner, as it's sometimes called. And now the fight on cart still just kind of at a little bit of a stalemate without those Ashes there to really back up the fight. However, Reddit Ross taking an early loss is going to be a little bit beneficial for the offense. They need to carry on with this momentum, though. Bob going to be really focusing that cart, making it difficult for the attackers to get the damage in and really put their full focus forward. With this now, Mellow Bello just trying to halt in everybody, making sure nobody can get on the cart after the time has started ticking down.
This has been pretty backbreaking right now. This is the last chance for Oblivion. They've got to survive this blizzard.
And it's going to get dropped right as the Immortality Field comes down. Mellow tearing it down out of the sky. And now Oblivion looks all good for taking these kills. Bob getting halted off the cart. Doesn't look like there's going to be much to contest. Baptiste trying, going to be shot down by Lynxie. And with that, round 1 is going to end here about a third of the way through.
And there's a moment there in that final fight with about 20 seconds left on the clock where Inferno decide, hey, we're still fighting relatively even at this point. No one had a clear advantage, but we're going to try and commit some ultimates and turn this fight into a winning one. They didn't quite get the value that they were looking for out of like the gravitic flux and everything else they committed. And you know, they just kind of peter out there towards the end as they kept trying to take that fight, kept losing members, and never got fully regrouped and, you know, ready to take a clean engagement.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but again, you mentioned it before. I think we're seeing why Oblivion chose this map. It was their map start. And, you know, it seems like, especially on that first point, they were doing pretty solid throughout the first half.
Yeah, I mean, they very nearly got holds on point A, and then on point B, it basically went down to overtime for both of them. And you know, eventually they get the stop there quite early into third. You know, that usually you're seeing the cart roll on towards the end of the map before that stop comes through. So they put themselves in a solid position, but now they've got to deliver on the attack.
Yeah, fortunately, doesn't look like the attack bastion is going to quite be coming out. No pirate ship this time around. You say sad, I say glad. But with that, Melabella going to be dropping a shield on the cart, gets torn down immediately. Not going to be getting that cooldown back for about 8 seconds. And now the tanks are taking a little bit more freeform damage than they might be comfortable with. Eden Solace already at that half health point line. But fortunately, I was going to say it looks like the defense is playing a little bit conservatively, but Azo not quite able to play conservatively enough with their team. Going to be taken down early on. Oblivion now going to be piling in the damage, especially with that Baptiste gone. There's not much to help the defense recover. The res does come out, but it might not be enough to stem the bleeding.
No, I mean, Lynxie has already done so much work in this fight. It is going to allow Inferno to kind of back off here and get ready to take a final fight here on point A. But already just Oblivion on such a good pace, and they pick off one big bot.
Yeah, and right now it's looking like being considered for a final contest by Inferno, but it's not going to quite be enough, it seems. Oh, no, the Orisa and Sigma are going to get there at the very last moment. Bite my tongue, but it doesn't look like the damage is quite going to be there. The Mercy trying her best, not going to find the res, and with that, it was all just a futile effort.
Yeah, losing the Baptiste at the beginning of that fight was really, really crucial. I mean, without that extra sustain, without the immortality field to save people, you had to see ZX Liberty try to go for a really aggressive flank play, and it just doesn't work out for him in that case. He had to try to make the hero play happen, but he can't quite come up with it. So now Oblivion off to an excellent start on their attack.
They can carry this momentum forward. Reddit Ross so close to that blizzard. A lot of ults online for both sides. However, we might be looking at a little bit of an ult fiesta moving ahead. These teams really need to have control, make sure that they don't over-invest those ultimates, as we do see the Valkyrie, the first one to kind of break the tide, open the floodgates as it goes. And now it's looking like it's going to get hot and heavy here with these ults. The immortality field does get forced out by that grab flux, so you can certainly say that that has found some sort of value, but only if they can really use that ability to kind of push forward. Inferno trying to find this damage, and instead it looks like the kills are going to start to lean in favor of Oblivion. But it looks like they're not quite pushing their advantage just yet. With their Orisa down, they may not want to be too quick on the push. And now as she gets rezzed back up by Feud Zenyatta, it's looking like Inferno's a little bit staggered out here. This is a pretty slow fight with a lot of ultimates being invested, Shy Guy.
Yeah, they can't afford to just kind of let this one go. They have to try and keep fighting here, even as they are down. Azo back on the Doomfist to get into this fight, creating some havoc, creating some chaos for his team.
And Izzo getting this damage and not really able to be dealt with too immediately. Eventually it will happen by Eden's Solace. And the high noon from Libby gonna be claiming back a few, but it's not looking like it's gonna be enough. That Sigma being kept alive by the Mercy are the last few remaining stalwarts on this part, but they're gonna be taken down in quick order.
And again, Oblivion, they're just playing these fights really, really patiently. They are not kind of over pushing. They aren't getting themselves into awkward positions, and they've now find themselves on the verge of taking map number 2, of tying up this series. Azo over to the Genji here for this final stage. This is an interesting pick. I'm curious to see if he can get anything done with it.
Yeah, Genji into a Mei is always a little bit of a concern to me as we see this fight kind of get underway, as that cart is nearing that yellow box so closely. Somebody needs to be there to contest. The Bob's now going to be coming out. Looks like Lynxie going to be throwing it into the backlines, forcing out that Sigma, who's drawing all that fire. And in the meantime, Libby has still managed to take down this team. You think that that Bob would have been a little too much of a distraction for Inferno, but no, they're managing to cull it back just a little bit with no Bob investment of their own. And Libby, I genuinely believe, holding this team down pretty much all at large.
Yeah, I mean, it was Libby and DZ there. They completely shut down the aggressive flanks that came in from Lynxie and Feuds and Yada, kind of wrapping around the back. It was a high risk, high reward play there for Oblivion, and they just can't quite pull it off. But still, coming back into this, they've got time on their side. They've got ults to work with, so this is going to be tough for Inferno.
Yeah, we're going to see as that supercharger does come out, see if they can get the investment. Looks like both teams willing to commit a lot of ults into this fight. Inferno really trying to make it happen. The kills going so heavy in their favor. Looks like those ults are going to be worth it.
Definitely worth it, because look at what Oblivion commit to that fight. They used the Flux, the Supercharger, that Valkyrie. I mean, that is kind of a disaster for the attackers at this point. You're gonna have to wait a little while before you can build up those ultimates, unless the Blizzard on its own is enough. They might be in for the long haul here.
Yeah, the long haul indeed. Going to be 2.5 minutes left on the clock. The kinetic grasp getting forced out by Eden's means they're not going to have that to mitigate all that damage coming in on this high ground, and they're looking to take their lumps for it. However, they trade lumps with that now, but Feuds and Yada does have the ability to res Naga coming in. This Blizzard going to be landing, and can it get the capitalization that it needs to? It's gonna be Azo taken down by the Mercy, but that's sadly not enough for the side of Oblivion. This fight dead in the water.
And now they use the Blizzard here as well. Like Oblivion, they keep committing ultimates to these, lost fights, and it's now setting them back really significantly. We're down to 1.5 minutes on the clock. This hold starting to look doable for Inferno. They've got the Supercharger ready to go for this next fight. Gonna toss it out early.
Yeah, they're gonna be throwing that Supercharger down, really dissuading that defense coming out. But Red and Ross on the Torbjorn actually find some early kills. Who says Torbjorn can't be a sniper? Certainly Oblivion doesn't. They're gonna find a few opening kills, Naga including getting one onto Azo, but it's not gonna be enough, as now Oblivion steps back just a little bit and has to reevaluate themselves.
There's the minute mark, but now we are about to kind of approach the window here for Oblivion. Most of the ults down on the side of Inferno, a lot about to be online for the attackers, as soon as they can get up to that Supercharger and their Gravitic Flux, that needs to be the time they go all in.
We'll have to see. Bob going to be sent deep into the back. Lynxie throwing him in, trying to get that damage, but once again, easily dealt with by the tanks on the side of Inferno. Looks like they certainly have a Lynxie's number, and with this, the kills now start to go in their favor once again. This is looking oh so good for Inferno, and it doesn't look like the recovery is going to be there from Oblivion. This is a tough spot now, Shy Guy.
No, now they've got to try to push back in here. I mean, they'll have one last opportunity, it seems like, but it's going to be a little bit staggered. I mean, Lynxie just now respawns, going to switch over the Tracer to make it back into this fight, but they've got to make this happen now. Yeah, and the halt onto the Sigma and the Torbjorn, pulling them off the high ground, perhaps forces
the side of Oblivion to be in a more uncomfortable position than they might like. Libby going to be taking advantage of that, getting the kill onto Naga. That Omnic Monk is going to be falling rather early. And now Libby has their turn to throw Mob into the fray. He's going to be cracking that Orisa shield, then focusing down just consistent damage into all of these players, tearing down the Tracer, tearing down the Torbjorn. And with that, it looks like Inferno has held. They're going to be taking it here 3-2 on Joe.
And that's a backbreaker for Oblivion right there. I mean, you had that map in the palm of your hands after the way those first 2 points went on the attack. I mean, it seemed like it was in the bag, but Inferno buckled down hard there on that final section. They come up clutch. They're able to pull off the hold. They go up 2-0 in the series, and they are really, really rolling right now.
It was looking real good for Oblivion, but Inferno just managed to have a stellar 3rd-point hold. It completely caught me off guard. However, that is going to put them at the 2-0 lead. Can Oblivion bring it back with the reverse sweep, or will Inferno take it in a clean 3-0? We'll find out in just a little bit, but folks, first we're going to head to a 2 to 3 minute break, so stick around. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to GitGud Console Edition. We're in week 4, round 4. Oblivion versus Inferno. Inferno stands up in the lead 2-0 over Oblivion, rather. I'm Sir Waltham, joined by Shy Guy. Shy Guy, what have we seen so far?
We have seen a really stellar match so far. I mean, that last map on Junkertown going down to the wire, taking a heroic hold from Inferno to finally close that one out. And, a lot of it, I gotta say, was off the back of ZX Levy, who I think has been the standout star for Inferno so far. I mean, I don't want to be the guy who always is only praising the DPS players or anything. So I do want to give a shout out to the rest of the team. I think they've done an excellent job of rotating their ultimates, especially those damage boosting ultimates. In that last map, they had the Mercy for the Valkyrie, they had the Supercharger, they had the Amp Matrix as well, and they were constantly, every fight, it seemed like they were able to drop one of those and immediately use it to enable that Ashe to get a lot of value. So ZX will be popping off, but with a lot of help from his team, and Inferno in a great position right now.
And as we look ahead to our next map, it's like it's going to be King's Row. So Libby might be looking to stay a little bit dominant on the Ashe there. However, as we look towards the other side of the field, Oblivion going to be doing a little bit of a change-up as they pull Reddit Ross from the roster. And it's going to be Vezred up for that deep spot.
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of different looks he brings to the table. I mean, maybe considering we're going over to King's Row, you could see something like the May come out potentially. I mean, he's coming into that kind of projectile DPS spot, presumably alongside Lynxy. So we'll just have to see what the pick is going to be. He'll be rolling out on the defense in just a little while, so we'll get our answers shortly. But for Inferno, I don't think coming into this map that you feel like you have to change basically anything. I mean, everything has gone your way so far in this series, and I think you just kind of keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good for Inferno. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is a philosophy I like kind of follow. And with that, I think that they're also going to be leaning on, not having to adapt so much. Really, I think the onus is going to be on Oblivion to find out what works.
Yeah, and indeed, Vezred going over to that May. I mean, it makes so much sense here on King's Row. It is kind of a map made for May in a lot of ways, with the way that the choke points work, the narrowness of kind of the corridors throughout the rest of the map. So many opportunities to find big walls, and so far Inferno has been the team that's gotten more value out of the May. They've been more ready to play it, but now that seems to be changing here for Oblivion, so we'll see if that can be the difference maker.
Certainly going to have to hope so. We're seeing Lynxy throwing in that dynamite, just trying to get that early damage. Does find a little bit of it, building up that ult charge even faster than Ashe already normally does, but these teams going to be taking the fight right to one another. Oblivion posted up on this high ground underneath the clock tower, using the halt to try to force out some members from the hotel. Might be crucial here, but it's going to be quick on to the point for Inferno as they try to force out some rotations, some drops from the side of Oblivion, who look like they're taking their sweet time. They really want to find these picks first, but they've given up already 2 ticks, and now the team's going to be dropping in. This Genji right in the midline trying to, play a little bit dangerously, has that Discord orb, but does help the team be distracted enough to find the kill onto Mellow Bellow. It looks like Inferno already had 2 ticks, but the last one's not going to be difficult to get either.
No, not at all for them. They just kind of run right over Inferno, or I guess they run right over Oblivion. They park themselves on the point, and Oblivion's slow to rotate down, which is understandable. You want to use the high ground advantage that you have. But even with the Mei, they can't win out the brawl. Now they're going to commit to that style even further with Naga going over to the Brig. They need to be taking these close quarters fights to be kind of forcing the engagements.
Yeah, the question now becomes for me, will Azo be able to find this continued value on Genji? We saw them dive rather deep into the lines prior. Can they be mitigated by that from Naga, or will they continue to build up towards that Dragon Blade? Some early damage coming in now from Dynamite as the cart continues to make way. Oblivion continues to give up a lot of space here. They just keep kind of backpedaling, and the Dragon Blade now going to be coming out, but gets stunned out. Azo not able to find that value. Kind of throws away the Dragon Blade, gets a few slashes, and takes down that Immortality Field eventually, but not able to find so much success with it. Bob now going to be thrown in. It's going to be the defense's opportunity to strike back. Can they make it happen? Vezrez with that Blizzard going to be throwing it out immediately, but the kills coming through right before that Blizzard hits means that the teeth are going to be pulled from Oblivion. They may not be able to capitalize, and in fact, Inferno looking so good for this fight.
And so good for this map. I mean, their time bank is just going to be astronomical rolling into this final point. I mean, 5.5 minutes. This is getting dire for Oblivion now, because we're at win or die at this point. Like, this is their last opportunity. They've got to take King's Row, or at least get the tie to avoid that 3-0 sweep and not off to the start that they were looking for so far.
Yeah. Livy has this high ground, going to be looking once again for those picks with that Ashe, but now it's going to be the attacker's turn to try to find that value. Lynxie needs to be very careful, but in the meantime, the Grab Flux coming out, trying to find that value, forces out the Immortality Field. Going to be the only value it gets so far, but Bixie pulling Mellow Bellow into the pit. Some poor positioning coming out from the defense ensures that they will be dropping into the bottomless abyss that is the lower regions of King's Row.
Yeah, they try to push up to capitalize on that flux out from Eden Solace, but Mellow Bellow getting punished, and again here falling before the fight even starts. They're going to be down their main tank, and they have to push in now.
It's going to be a question of how long can Oblivion stall out for. The Immortality Field being brought out rather early. Azo going to be pulling out the Dragon Blade, but it doesn't matter. The Grab Flux doing a majority of that lifting. The combo's there, though, and because of that, Inferno takes it. 4.5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, that was, I don't even know. That was insane. Oblivion just, they never got their feet up under them at all on this map. They were just always backpedaling. When they were playing that Mei comp, at that point, you have to just kind of barrel into the enemy team. You have to take the brawl. But they were always just like playing it very slowly, not willing to go in aggressively. And, all of the impetus was on them, and they just don't take it. Inferno constantly keeping them off balance, and it results in just a ridiculous time bank here.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes might be the healthiest, the hardiest I've seen the time bank on King's Row in a while in all the games I've casted over the last few months. But with that now, what does Oblivion need to do to break?
You need to come out and at least put up like a solid offense. Like there needs to be some changes in the team comp, because the Mei stuff wasn't working on the defense, and I doubt they're going to be able to match it on the attack. So Vezred playing the Reaper for the time being. This is interesting. Reaper Genji, not exactly the most synergistic DPS duo, but They really are committing to the brawl, and I respect that. I don't think it's a bad option here, but they're gonna get poked down pretty heavily as they try to engage, and there you have it.
Yeah, first few kills coming off the back end of a halt, and a little bit of a mispositioning from Vezred, meaning that Oblivion not going to be set up for this initial fight. In fact, already on the back foot, and Libby perhaps getting a bit cocky, trying to push forward, getting some early damage with that dynamite just to build up that Bob a little bit faster.
And now already we're seeing some swaps from Oblivion. Vezred going to try and play the Widow. I'm not sure if this will stick for very long. I mean, it gives them a little bit of a range advantage, but in these fights, it is going to be hard to find a lot of value with the double shield on the other side.
Now the 5-man rotation coming in from Hotel minus that Widow, but Eden's taken down early, not going to be great for Oblivion, especially as Mellow Bellow falls in kind. With that Azo on this Genji to keep slashing through.
And, if you're going to play this Widow, you have to be able to push in and kind of force the rotation onto the point where Vezred can find some value. They do get a nice pick onto Azo. That could be the opening they need.
Yeah, from a big sleep by Naga. As that blade gets pulled out, that was so questionable, but as we look forward towards this fight, the Bob going to be getting thrown out. Almost on the point, not quite there, though. Libby going to be finding immense value with that Bob. Vezred having to really use that damage from the Widowmaker to deal with the Bob, and now going to be turning their targets towards the defense, but not going to be able to find it as the rest of their team pretty much crumbles.
Oh no, the blade out from Lynxy trying to clutch this one up. Will get the triple kill, and that's the saving grace.
This has been a game of questionable Dragon Blades, but if you're Oblivion, you're okay with that because yours paid off.
I mean, it was a ballsy call there. I mean, everybody was low, no healers on the point for Inferno, so Lynxy knew, it was possible. As long as he doesn't get shut down by an accretion or something, that's going to work out for him. And, he comes up clutch for his team, but already going down, and that's going to mean control of the choke goes over to Inferno.
And Libby on this high ground as well. Vezred maintaining that Widow. It's going to be whichever one of these hit scan can find the other first, really going to open it up for their team. However, Libby being a little bit distracted, gets dove upon by the Genji, and they get picked off. It looks like perhaps not gold. In fact, yes, but it's going to be by Vezred. And then the Mercy to be cleaned up in quick fashion. The attack looking good, but they just don't have the forward power to really get pushing.
Yeah, they lose one of their tanks, so even as they kind of win out that DPS duel a little bit, they can't really push forward, but still, those picks are going to mean Inferno has to back off, give up a little bit of ground here.
The Earth Shatter coming in, Eden Saw is going to be landing on it, and with this, it looks like the conservation going to be coming in from Inferno. They're going to be opting to not use any.
Yeah, now they're finally getting some movement on this cart. They've got some momentum with them. They should have the Nano Blade up pretty quickly into this next fight. That can be the kind of finisher here on point B, and they'll even have the sound barrier to kind of back it up. So a lot gonna be on that combo.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking personally for DZ to be using that gravitic flux with the sound barrier to respond. Fuse and Yada in fact does drop it. DZ not able to find too much value off the back end. In fact, I believe gets stunned out of it. Not able to really get that damage. Pride in Oblivion dropping the Nano Blade. Gonna be slashing and dashing their way across. But Lynxy not able to find too much. In fact, we'll just be killing things the good old-fashioned way with some shurikens and a katana.
Yeah, it'll be enough to kind of finish off that fight, and Oblivion do what they need to do there on point B. They keep the momentum in their favor, and now they've given themselves a shot here. Like, they're obviously still behind in time bank, and there's nothing they can do about that. But if they can, continue pushing forward here on this final checkpoint, if they can finish the map pretty quickly, then they'll have a shot going into extra rounds.
Yeah, they certainly don't want to finish in overtime if avoidable. But looking ahead towards this fight, Azo once again in the dangerous prospect for for Oblivion of having that Dragon Blade. However, going to be looking to set up for it, but Vezred seems to have them keyed in continually. Lynxy taken down, not going to be able to build up a Dragon Blade of their own. And really, Azo can be an absolute threat with this Dragon Blade if they're allowed to use it, but it looks like they're not going to have to, at least not up.
Now gonna have to watch out for the sleeps. There's the grab.
And a grab comes in. Not a whole lot of damage getting thrown in. One big bot going to be taken down right after they drop that amplification window. And now Vezred on this high ground gets pulled out by the Sigma shield, not able to get that damage in as a lone Widow. And now it looks like the offense really tried, had an opening there, just weren't able to quite make it happen, weren't quite able to capitalize upon it. But taking down DZ is another opening. These shields keep getting worn down the front line now for Inferno. Going to be worn down, but the commitment from Oblivion is lackluster.
No, they don't want to go in all in as their Rhine shield is breaking without the Zarya. Another sleep!
Another sleep. Azo getting brought down. You hate to see it, gets woken up, but Oblivion managing to get a Dragon Blade of their own, gets bullied down by one big bot who drops that immortality field, but doesn't look like it's going to quite be enough. The now just dagger coming out, the sound barrier to drop, and now we have a little bit of a fight on our hands.
All right, I gotta take my hat off. Naga just going crazy on the Ana. Two absolutely pivotal sleeps onto the onto the Dragon Blading Genji, onto Azo, who, you know, before this was having a field day on this map and throughout the series in general, but Naga shuts him down twice with that sleep. And I mean, both of them basically secure points for for Oblivion in that case. So just huge clutch plays coming out from the support.
Yeah, I personally a big Naga fan right now. Those sleeps absolutely crucial. Yeah, absolutely said it. And now as we look, it's going to be on to Oblivion to start off this next attack. Azo might be leaning on this Pharah, a curious choice, one we don't see on King's Row too often, Chaga.
Yeah, especially considering, I mean, we already saw Vezred playing the Widow earlier on. I mean, that was such a crucial pick for the Oblivion on that attack. To run the Pharah into that is going to require a lot of caution from Azo. He's going to have to play these sightlines quite carefully and, you know, not give Vezred those opportunities.
We'll have to see if they can make it happen, as these gates are now going to be opening up. Vezred immediately takes some early damage. Azo getting that boost coming in. Pharah once again just going to have to look for that early damage, but Vezred taken out means that Azo can do so without repercussion and be able to fly a little bit more freely. And it's going to be on Lynxie to find that Genji dive. Doesn't quite and has to retreat.
No, I mean, once they lose the Widow, that's so much of their pressure just gone. It means Inferno can play so aggressively, so they'll back off, they'll wait, they'll regroup. Now pushing in towards the hotel. Yeah, this hotel push might be risky as well. Azo going to be able to catch them if they go in through the backside of that hotel. But that Zarya going to be massively charged up. Mellow Bello getting those bubbles on to their team, but not quite able to make them count. It's just going to be that lone Lucio trying to rotate through the hotel. And Azo being a little bit of a skyhawk on this Pharah. Yeah, and actually just taking the tact of like going straight for Vezred, always trying to keep the Widow from being able to get into position to just kind of free fire over the point. So the anti-Widow Pharah right now working out quite well for Inferno. Yeah, in fact, it's going to be working out so well, we're going to be seeing a swap Vezred going on to that Ashe. See if that perhaps could find a little bit more purchase or a little bit more utility, very least. Cooldowns now being slowly rotated out of Oblivion as we see Mellow Bello use those projected barriers. And again, Oblivion looks like they want to go through the hotel, but it may not be the safest option. Azo so close to that rocket barrage, and this has been a relatively dry ultimate fight, but now we're seeing the ult start to build up. Good lord. In fact, kills going every way. Azo, however, able to pull it back. Gets slept once again. Naga is so ridiculous on this Ana. It won't matter in the end as Inferno come up with the hold here on King's Row. It's going to be Mellow Bello trying to get back in here. The accretion misses, so he triggers the overtime. And we're going to be seeing Bob on as well. The now nano-boosted Dragon Blade coming out. This might be it for Oblivion. They might be able to get a sort of win condition going. Lynxie forcing out that deflect means that Genji Blade's going to be cut a little bit short. Progress has been made, about 50%. The sound barrier going to be dropped from Feuds and Yada to try to keep everybody up, and it looks like there's nothing that Inferno can do but give up some. I mean, and that fight is on a razor's edge there. The Nano Blade does enough work, and Oblivion able to get through point A, but they very nearly did not. If DZ connects with that accretion onto Mellow Bello, the ball never touches the point, never gets to the overtime in the first place, and we're looking at a full hold. Now Oblivion, a little bit of life in them. They need to push this a considerable distance, in my opinion, given the time bank we see on the other side.
Yeah, that or have a stellar defense, but they're going to want to focus on the task at hand. And taking down Azo's a really good way to do that. They're going to have the opening here as that Pharah not able to build up the barrage. The Mercy, however, going to be trying to get the res. Vezred almost gets the kill onto Nigel, onto Nigel, but not quite. Bob going to be getting lifted. The Sigma trying to get that Sigma 9 on the cart. Doesn't quite find it, though. In fact, there will be a few more members standing guard. But it doesn't look like it really matters when you just win the fight the good old-fashioned way. Bob now going to be jumping into the fray. That might have been the nail in the coffin here for the attacking Oblivion. In fact, it will. Cart makes it about halfway through.
And to me, that fight really all comes down to that split second where they almost are able to stop the res, almost able to get that Mercy. If Oblivion can do that, then they're in a perfect position to keep this push going. But Nigel Farage able to get that one off, able come up clutch, and Inferno put a stop to any overtime push coming through from Oblivion. And now it falls on the defense. This is where Oblivion has to make their where Oblivion has to make their stand.
And that might be tough, because if Inferno chooses the Pharah again, it didn't seem like Oblivion really had the to counter it, really just handle any sort of aerial capabilities here, Shy Guy. If we do see that Pharah come out from Inferno, what do they have to do?
I think they're already in a little bit better position to deal with it. For one, just being on the defense, I think makes it easier to handle the Pharah. You've got better angles to work with. They've got Vezred on this Ashe already, so I think that's a little bit better option than perhaps the Widowmaker to try and make it happen. But the problem I think they're going to run into is they've just got kind of an insurmountable time bank to work with here. It's going to have to be pretty much perfection from Oblivion from this point forward.
We'll see a perfection within their reach, as already Azo going to be getting in those angles, really cutting the lines of sight from Oblivion. But Lynxie on this Tracer trying to provide a pestilence in the back line. Libby gets focused down just a little bit, but not too much damage going in either way of these teams right now. They're just trying to set up this fight, and already the defense looking strong as those first few kills come in. Not really able to get to point are the attackers, and with that, it looks like they're gonna have to back up.
Lynxie, doing an excellent job so far of really trying to hound down these supports, able to assassinate Nigel in that opening fight, and now Inferno gonna have to reset a little bit here, but they don't have a lot to worry about. They got the Amp Matrix about to come online for one big bot, so that's an opportunity that they can use to find some early picks.
Yeah, we'll see if one big bot is going to invest that Amp Matrix into this fight. It looks like they will really put the pressure on the shields of the defenders, as well the Halt coming in just to put even more damage down the lane. In fact, to find the first kill onto Vezred now. Coming in, nobody looking really anxious to get onto point from Oblivion. As I say that, it's going to be Eden Sauce taking the slow time to really get to point, but it's a little bit too late, as Inferno does have massive numbers advantage.
The Amp Matrix is really mostly used just to force positioning out of Oblivion. They can't stick around on the point. They're all forced back into that corner, and that just kind of makes them sitting ducks for Azo at that point. He comes in over the top, able to find a couple of quick kills, and now things looking very, very good for Inferno. They've just got a little bit of distance to push, and this series will be theirs.
Certainly only a few fights to win, however, not out of the field yet for Oblivion. With this, though, we do look towards the ultimates they have. The Nano Boost going to be going on to Eden's. Eden just has to land one big Earth Shatter, but doesn't find it. Binksy instead going to be using that Fortify to mitigate it. Bob sent into the back lines, popped up. It's going to be a Bob v Bob fight. Now the Rocket Barrage coming in from Azo gets focused down. You're always so vulnerable as that far. You have to be considerate of that. And it looks like Azo's going to learn that lesson the hard way. However, this fight now breaking down a little bit aggressively. Continued point progress given up, but that's going to be fine by the defense if they're able to hold it here. However, they're averaging players, so that may not be the appropriate response.
Yeah, and the attackers have the much better spawns for this point in the map. They've got numbers on the cart, no tanks in sight for Oblivion. Can they even get into touch?
It looks like the contest will be coming through. It's going to be Lynxy just getting those last second holds from downtown. The sound barrier coming in from Feud Zenyatta. Just a few getting healed up, but a big anti-nade's going to really help suss things up. Naga continuing to play excellently on this Ana. It seems like Libby's going to realize that and eventually focus them down. This ball just trying to cause a disruption, but the kills need to come through, not just disruption. Doesn't look like that's going to quite be the case, as it's just a Lucio from Feud Zenyatta. As he falls, the map's going to go over all the way to Inferno in a 3-0 victory.
The grab almost comes up clutch there for Oblivion, but they just can't quite finish off enough of those kills. And Inferno, with too much time to work with, too much firepower throughout this series, they come away with the clean sweep. And you know, I gotta say, they really impressed me with their team play throughout this series, and they look very, very strong right now.
Yeah, I have to agree. Inferno, again, looking so excellent. I think, honestly, you didn't want to be that guy earlier after the break, but I will be that guy. I think a lot of the difference stood in those DPS. We were praising Libby. We were praising the projectile character, Azo. But we didn't really hear a lot of that praise going on to the DPS. Well, both DPSs of aside of Oblivion. I think that's really where they stood out. So overall, I think Inferno had a great lineup, but Naga from Oblivion, perhaps one of my favorite teams.
Oh yeah, I mean those sleeps were just a work of art there on King's Row. Almost made something happen there for Oblivion, but they just can't quite hang with Inferno this time around. But still, a lot to take away from this series, a lot to work on going forward, and you know they are looking ahead to the rest of the season now as Inferno continue their run.
Inferno going to be feeling pretty good now. Oblivion perhaps lost a little bit of that momentum, but that's all right. They'll have more weeks to get back up. Mm-hmm. However, stick around, folks. This is certainly not the last game we're going to be having this afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time it is. We're going to be hosting Boosted Boys versus Kaibade coming up next, so stick around. We'll be back right after.
Look at that. That's Starboy starting the fight off right there. A sneaky little punch. And then Chemical picking up 2 eliminations, one after another, just bouncing around like it's his birthday in the bounce house. And it's going to be called Bolt, following up with the last 2 eliminations. And that is a snowball if I've ever seen one.
Your Caesar's already got 91%. That's the amount of pressure that Ants come under control.
Yes, and we do see it once again now. The Caesar squad moving it straight in. Have you seen that save on the copy? What is that guy doing? That's crazy. Beautifully played.
Texor already having a barrage online, getting 3 out the gate, Vecra.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge barrage coming in from Texora. I thought the point was had by Nike Exiles. They were able to cap it first, but the patient play from B-Swarm was able to bring it back.
2 get knocked down by the Earth Shatter, but the Immortality Field from Wolf will keep them alive and healthy. Joe Biden on this Pharah. We have not finished seeing him yet on this aerial ability. And with that taking down 2 helps to equalize the team. He needs just somebody to stay on cart. And Jelly Boy now taken down. Joe Biden might have helped turn this fight around in just the right way.
Vespis is absolutely forcing these small little engagements. Oh, Courage with some brilliant mines! Oh my goodness! Courage getting 4 kills with the mines. What a way to close out this incredible matchup.